So, I guess I want to start off this time discussing what you mean by passion for the truth. I know that's something when we were in the field a lot, tracking in the past, you'd often bring this up, passion for the truth, maybe related to a track or a sign that we were looking at in the discussion with the tracks. And I also wanted to know how it related to the tracks, but not only how does it relate to passion for the truth and what we were talking about, kind of the inner landscape besides the outer tracking as well.
Right. Yeah, the passion for truth is a term I use a lot. I've used a lot in the past, and I still use it in terms of inner tracking. But it goes well, that term goes well both with the outer and the inner. And usually when I'm using that term, I'm referring to the fact that if the truth is what's really important, that's all that matters. If what's important to you is the truth above all else, then basically, and more than likely, the truth's going to come through. Other things are not going to get in the way. And if the truth is really important, then that automatically infers or equals openness. When you look at a track, you might have a lot of opinions about it, but the opinions and your being right or wrong is not important. What's important is, what is it really? That's what's important. So the opinions, ego attachments, and everything get thrown out if what's really important is the truth. And all the other stuff gets in the way. So even if your conditioning is off a little, you're going to be attentive to that in the passion for the truth when it comes to the tracking in the field. And in self-inquiry, if what is mostly important is the truth, then all your insecurities, all your fears, all your self-concern doesn't get in the way. The truth washes it all away. It's just burnt in the fire of truth. It's burnt in the fire of the passion for truth. So that's what I'm referring to. And that passion for truth is the openness. If there's a passion for truth, there's automatically openness. That is openness. And if there's openness and a passion for truth, there's awareness. It's all the same thing. So that's why I've used that term so often. Because it's easy for people's concerns, self-concern, way too easy for it to get in the way of, what is this really? Who am I really?
Yeah, well, I guess the question is the truth really the answer that we conclude to or come to? And it begs the question of what are we talking about when we say the truth? Is it about the truth of situations that we look for or that is being looked for? So I guess it begs the question, what do we mean by truth?
Yeah. On our online discussion group, we went into this.
Mm-hmm.
And some people were positing that the truth is different for different people.
Mm-hmm.
That we all have our own conditioning process, and what might be true for me might not be true for somebody else, but it's true for me. That was an opinion that was put forth. But to me, that is assumptions that's based on a conditioned process. That is not the truth, capital T.
Mm-hmm.
That is a limited truth, limited by our condition. And what's true for your condition and true for my condition might be different, yet true for that condition. Okay? So is that's
Mm-hmm.
clear, right? But there's something that is observing that whole process, that is observing that whole process, that is revealing its limitations, that is the truth. It's not a fact. This truth with the capital T is not a fact that is delivered by our conditioned process. But it is, the conditioned process is arising in this truth. And that's that openness we've been talking about.
Yeah, so let's say the conditioned process often thinks it's its own truth, and which is the conditioned.
It has its conditioned, limited truth. But I'm talking about an unlimited truth, that all that is coming and going in.
And the passion for truth is not associated to the conditioned truth, which is the person's own conditioned passion for their own truth, basically. It's passion for
Right, it
this
keeps
other
you
truth.
observing. The passion for truth is a continual observance that keeps you open constantly to learning and new things coming in. So it's a constant observation. There's an energy there for attention.
Yeah, and when you use the words attention or constant observation, it's easy to interpret that as meaning that's something that I'm going to have willpower over to do, that constant observation and attention, right? And it sounds like very easy to interpret that as being watchful of the process of observing and being attentive. And is that what you mean? Is that how we should be? Is that how it's interpreted? I don't think so.
Right. We can become aware of ourselves trying to be watchful.
Mm-hmm.
There's something else watchful there. Do you see what I mean? Okay, so I'm going to go back to my own awakening reflects upon this very clearly. And after having read Krishnamurti for what seemed like ever, after reading every book he wrote and many, many other people and doing tremendous amount of self-inquiry, which I'm not sure done me any good, but Krishnamurti was always saying, pay attention. Every other word, through everything he was saying, he seemed to be saying, pay attention. So I was hearing that consciously and unconsciously, that was the thing to do.
To do, right.
Pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, I was paying attention. I was a hatha yana yogi in ashram, and meditated an hour every day, done 2 hours of hatha yoga every day, and I was paying attention. And I was out walking in the forest one day, and I was paying attention. Boy, I was good at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was, every footfall, every sound, every little needle dropping, I was paying attention. All of a sudden, there was a seeing that was forced, attention, that was contrived. There was a me that was doing it. There was this idea of who I was that had consciousness, that had awareness, that was capable of attention. There was this idea about that made up by thought. And this idea was trying to pay attention, and it was this basic belief in this idea, trying to pay attention to ideas, thought trying to pay attention to thought. And all I could see was that me, who I thought I was totally blind. As that process engaged, it engaged and separated itself from thought. It was thought, but it was participating as the seer, the doer, the one who was attentive. It was participating in that. But it didn't see a damn thing. It didn't see that it was separate. It didn't see what it was doing. But all of a sudden, there it was. The whole thing.
All revealed.
All revealed.
Mm-hmm.
And I had nothing to do with it. I was blind. I couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't capable of that. All of a sudden, there was something else. There was a seeing that came in and just put it all to ashes. It was all false. There was no ability to accomplish the seeing, do the seeing, be the seeing. It wipes everything clean. And at the same time, the whole universe was appearing in this seeing. Everything was being revealed in this. All beings were being in this. So that is, to me, what we are striving to communicate. If that can happen to another person, the video done its job. You know? To be very blunt, I'm being blunt now.
Mm-hmm. So then the conversation isn't really about trying to identify what the truth is. We haven't discussed that really. I mean, I posed a question, but the idea here is not to come to a definitive answer to saying, well, this is the truth, grandiose truth, put a finger on it. That's not really part of the conversation.
Right.
Well, let's back this out just to kind of looking back at tracking again, okay? And look at passion for truth in the context of tracking. We really kind of got into define a bit about what that is. Yep. on the deep interpersonal, deeper level for individually. But look at tracking. How is it portrayed in tracking? Trying to make a bridge. If one in a group of people are out tracking together, where does passion for the truth and openness make itself present? I mean, let's say it's funny to say where does it make itself present, but where does it come up in the opposite?
I can think of an example.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I was out in these forests. I had, again, about 10 people with me, and it was a whole weekend program. Mm-hmm. We're tracking in the snow, and we tracked fisher cats, for the whole first day is Saturday. The first day we tracked fisher cats. Those people saw hundreds of fisher cat tracks and many, many trails. We walked so many trails and tracked so many fishes. I mean, they really layered on fishers. Mm-hmm. Next day, I take them out into the forest and we come upon this trail, nice fresh trail. So I asked them, I say, okay, so what is that? Silence. Mm-hmm. I'm waiting, dead silence. I'm waiting. Oh, folks. Come on now, what's that? Silence. There's 10 people there. Guaranteed
Okay.
that in the minds of some of those people, Fisher came up. Because all that layering went on those tracks, and almost guaranteed, after all the layering they did, Fisher came up. But there was self-concern. And that self-concern is, oh gee, maybe I'm wrong. What if I'm wrong? I don't want to say it's Fisher. I don't want to, look like I'm wrong or anything. So fear, that's fear, self-concern, kind of stops the mind from working freely. The mind doesn't need that. It needs to move. It needs to work. But all that self-concern kind of interrupts, freezes it, stops it. No passion for truth, just, again, the self-concern.
So it wasn't really about the answer, per se, that they got it correct or incorrect. More of it has to do with the inhibition, the internal inhibition of the self-concern.
Well, that was what was very apparent at the moment, that there was a lot of self-concern, and that was, but also the learning the right answer and evidence would also have been important.
Right.
But, you can see where self-concern comes in and doesn't allow you to function. You can't function because of fear.
Yeah, I think that's a very clear example and a very simplistic way of looking at animal tracks, how that can emerge, the self-concern, which really, at the bottom line, doesn't seem any different than if we're looking at these tracks compared to any other type of relationship we have in the context, in a larger context of work relationships or family relationships or anything, right? There's still this self-concern and concern about the identity that might be damaged, the fragile identity that might be damaged if it's revealed that they said something wrong or incorrect.
Yeah, and you wouldn't be open to improve or change, or if you're in denial about maybe you did something inappropriate. But if there's self-concern there, then you can't see your inappropriateness. There's no chance for change or improvement or learning about yourself. So self-concern, fear, can be very self-limiting.